What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Jordan Lauby, and here we are back with another great episode of Washed Up Wednesdays, episode 13. Been doing this for a quarter year now, so that's pretty good to know. Hello. That's not what I want. Getting into the episode here, we're going to get into a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff going on in the NFL like we do every single Wednesday. Talk about trades, suspensions, a lot of those this week. Game results, who did the best, who did the worst, the whole nine there. Shoot me all your messages on the YouTube chat. I have it pulled up on my phone so I can keep up with them throughout the show and still be able to go through my notes all at the same time. So there's going to be full fan interaction this time around. You can still text me if you want to. Throw your comments onto the video as well. I'll be seeing them in the live feed, so we'll get all those answered right away. But let's get right down to it. Big news this week. Have a couple of big headlines. Myles Garrett, big suspension there. Let's break it down from the beginning. There was a little screen pass to the left in the last 20 seconds of the game, not even the last 10. Myles Garrett was coming full speed at Mason Rudolph, put his head down before Mason Rudolph got the ball off. When your head's down, you don't know if someone's throwing the ball or not. In football, you always have to keep your head up, so strike one on Myles Garrett there. He hits Mason Rudolph and wrestles him to the ground. It looked awkward, but if Mason had the ball, the rest would have blown their whistles to call it dead before he got to the ground, or they just would have let it happen and he just would have fallen normally. So he gets him to the ground not knowing he got rid of the ball. So he's still holding on to him because he hasn't heard a whistle. You play into the whistle. Mason is holding on to him, trying to get him off. So he starts pulling at his helmet, and Myles Garrett doesn't like that. So he pushes up and tries to get off. And as he's pushing off, he's got two linemen pushing up, and then Mason Rudolph kicks him. There's a great angle from the south end zone showing that angle of him kicking him. Full speed, you can also see it when it shows from the north side of the end zone, the replay of the whole fight in full speed, you see that angle. So right there, that should be a fine for Mason Rudolph, which he did get fined. And Myles Garrett gets up and rips his helmet off. That's a fine and a suspension right there. This is where it gets out of hand. Mason Rudolph at a whopping 6'4", 220, going after Myles Garrett, 6'7", 280. I don't know if he's that tall, but he looked much bigger than Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph gets right in his grill, gets into his face, says, "Hey man, you can't do that." And Myles Garrett swings his helmet and lands a direct hit on the top of his head. Bam, I agree with that. He should be suspended indefinitely using a helmet as a weapon. That's the Lyle Alzado rule. He used to swing his helmet all the time and rip the helmet off other guys back in the 70s and 80s with the Broncos and Raiders. So that's clear. That's in the rule book. Suspended for a year indefinitely. We'll see what happens. He's trying to appeal it. We'll find out more. Two Steelers offensive linemen, one Maurkice Pouncey comes up, puts him to the ground, kicks him a couple times, punches him in the helmet. He gets a 3-game suspension and a fine. He's also appealing that, trying to get it reduced. Mason Rudolph then gets shoved down by Larry Ogunjobi, and then Larry Ogunjobi, 1-game suspension. He appealed it, just got upheld, so he's going to continue being suspended. There's a lot of transparency with what happened. Not transparency, but a lot going on. I don't agree with how Maurkice Pouncey kicks and punches a player and gets suspended 3 games. Mason Rudolph kicks a player and tries to yank off their helmet and only gets fined. On his contract, that probably is a lot of money that he did get fined. But either way, if you're going to kick someone and you're going to suspend one guy for 3 games and not suspend the other guy, that's a big continuity issue in the NFL. I agree with Maurkice Pouncey and the rest of the Steelers offensive linemen defending Mason Rudolph. He's the little brother back there, and he's the backup quarterback. Good job by the O-line standing up for that. I love seeing that around. I also love the fire of Mason Rudolph, but show that in the game. Yeah, there's 8 seconds left, but you got another throw you can make. Show it then. Don't go up to a guy who's a much more massive human being than you are and get in his grill. Just a stupid decision on his part. I believe he did instigate everything because Myles Garrett was just playing. You guys that are saying, "Oh, no, he wasn't. He knew the ball was thrown." Go watch the film. His head's down. Shame on him. He throws Mason Rudolph to the ground in a normal sack. It wasn't like he body slammed him or suplexed him. He just took him down. He didn't bring him down hard, and Mason Rudolph got mad and tried to yank his helmet off. Shame on Mason Rudolph. So it's a whole debacle. The only thing they got right was suspending Myles Garrett. I don't think Marquise Pouncey should be suspended for as long as he did. Larry Ogunjobi probably should have just gotten a fine, but I think because of the heat of the moment, get suspended. That's just a judgment call by the NFL. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. And we go from a great defensive game by the Browns, 21-7, not talking about the Browns win, and a big division win to hopefully keep their playoff hopes alive because we know how bad they've been lately. We're talking about how they just lost their best defensive player for the rest of the season and have lost some key players as well along the way. So tough going in for Myles Garrett. If he didn't have the 2 fights in week 1 and week 2, I don't think he would have gotten that severe suspension. Maybe a 4-game, maybe a 6-game, which would take them to the end of the year, most likely. But, I mean, it's just you don't know because we obviously don't see that side of it. So that's my little rant on Myles Garrett. Getting into Colin Kaepernick, he had his workout, I guess. The day of, he moved it to 60 miles away to a local high school, brought his own wide receivers, did his own workout. They said 8 teams showed up. I didn't get the facts on which 8 because even those facts are a little scattered. ESPN reported one thing. Adam Schefter reported another. So did Ian Rappaport. So we don't really know which 8 teams actually went, but they did say 8 teams were there. He had an interview after saying, tell your owners to stop being scared. I've been denied for 3 years. I've been training for 3 years, blah, 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 the whole 9 there. So he had a good arm. He was barely stepping into throws and was chucking it 50, 60 yards. So good job by Mr. Kaepernick there. But either way, let's – because there's 2 sides of it. One, he feels he's been blackballed by the NFL. A lot of people argue he did. A lot of people argue he didn't. So he wants to do things on his own terms with his own people, his own workout, on his time. Understand that. He wanted the workout to get pushed back. The NFL said no, and it was literally 5 days notice. The one red flag I have about that is if you have been training for 3 years and you've been training every day like you say you have, I don't see why he would have a problem with it getting pushed back, but that's neither here nor there. I can't really gauge anything off that. He might have just said, hey, I want to get another week to start training for the workout you want to give me, but I don't know. That's that. But the other side of it is the business side where let's say I went to a job interview somewhere and I said, no, I want to do it at my house. I want my friend to interview me who works there. You know, the whole 9 there. A business would never allow it. But this is the NFL. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Seems like it was a PR stunt by the NFL to give him a workout anyways. I could be wrong about that. We could all be wrong about that. A lot of people arguing saying this is his chance to get out there, and this is the NFL giving him that chance, and it's not a PR stunt. There's a lot of teams that need a good quarterback because Kyle Allen threw 4 picks. Mason Rudolph threw 4 picks. Phillip Rivers threw 4 picks, and these guys are still starting. Nathan Peterman last year threw 5. So, I mean, give or take there, you got to pick something, you know. But, I mean, the whole situation there, I just wish for once and I will directly quote Pat McAfee on this because I thought this was a great take. For once, with everything that's been going on with him, and he's been denied, and the NFL gives you a chance, just listen to the NFL, do it for however long your training is, however long the interviews are, go, show up, ball out, leave, and hopefully get signed. I think that would have been a much better approach, but then again, I've never been in that situation where I've been oppressed like he's been saying he has been, and I don't see how I could relate to that. The 2 things that I don't like that Kaepernick has done in the past is the pig socks and the Fidel Castro shirt. Both of those things are red flags in and of itself. If I wore that around town, I would be getting looks about it, and he's in the prime states that he is in. That's neither here nor there. I'm biased. My dad was a cop, so there's that. But, I mean, either way, like, it's give or take. But he looked really good in his workout right there in it itself. Looked like he's ready. He wanted to do things on his own terms, which you can't argue with. That's a good call by him, especially the way he feels about the NFL. And he's doing everything he can to get on the team. So with that being said, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have been benched throughout the season. Andy Dalton, Mitch Trubisky just got benched. Phillip Rivers might be getting benched. No reports have came out, but with the way he's been playing the past 2 games and all season, this is by far the worst season he's had. He's already up to 15 picks. He had a 49 QBR this past week. So Dwayne Haskins not being a leader down in Washington. There's a great video of everyone on the Redskins just kind of giving him looks like, what are you doing? Like, don't try to talk to us. He was like, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? But he's coming at it from kind of this like narcissistic way. That's, again, neither here nor there. We don't know what's going on in the locker room after practice. We don't know what's happening at the practice field during lifts, how he's being a leader in those areas. But if they're not receiving it on the sideline, you have to bet they're not receiving it on the field or off the field as well. So a lot of quarterbacks, their futures are up in the air right now. Maybe Cap gets signed to one of these teams. Maybe even the Lions and Matt Stafford's back doesn't heal up. Jeff Driscoll did ball out against the Cowboys. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But either way, just crazy stuff going on with the quarterbacks in the NFL this year. 9 teams now have used their backup quarterback, which is unbelievable to think about. Or it might have been half. I don't know what the real stat is there. I know it's definitely 8 or 9 teams. But last thing I want to point out before we get into the games and all that is Rob Gronkowski was like, I'm making a huge announcement Tuesday at 10 a.m. He did this beginning of the year with the CBD medic saying, hey, I got a big announcement coming out tomorrow morning. Everyone's like, ooh, coming out of retirement. He must be feeling pretty good. He's probably healed up. Let's see what happens. And nope, CBD medic. And then it comes around this week. Hey, big announcement on Tuesday morning. Tune in, see what happens. And nope, nothing there either. He says, I'm holding a Super Bowl beach party. Y'all better be there. Come party with me. Guy's an animal. Just straight up right there. Guy's an absolute freak. And hopefully he does come back to play. I think this is one of those things where he knows he's going to come back right at week 13, and he's been making these stupid little announcement disclaimers leading up to it. That'd be really cool to see if he did that. Big troll on us, big meme in the making. Yeah. So hopefully all that works out for Gronk, Colin Kaepernick, and Myles Garrett. All of them get what they want. We'll see what happens, though. But let's get into the game of the week. How about the Minnesota Vikings' big comeback against the Broncos? Broncos' defense the past couple of games have been absolutely stout. They've been figuring it out on defense. Chris Harris playing well, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, Von Miller playing well, even without Bradley Chubb on the other side. Malik Reed figuring everything out. Alexander Johnson getting really good playing time. That defense has gotten even better with him on the field. So good job by them. But the Vikings just powerhouse, put their nose to the grindstone, came back down 20-0. They're the first team to do that in the regular season in 97 games. That is unbelievable to be down 20 plus points at half and come back and win. Great job there. But Kirk Cousins really turned on the "you like that" slogan at the end. So good for him. A lot of people have been doubting him. He's got the Vikings at 8-3. Noah Fant, he looks like the real deal at tight end. He's burning people. He's catching people over the top. He's going up and grabbing any pass he can. He can catch on the run. He's blocking exceptionally well. A lot of people didn't think he would be as good of a blocker as he has been, but he has. But overall, just awesome defense in the second half by the Vikings. That goal line stand at the end was awesome. There was a close pass interference call. That was a no call. I completely agree with it. I think it's the correct call. I think it's a smart call. Great job by the refs throughout that game as well, but really strong defensive stand by the Vikings that whole second half, especially that goal line going there. Honorable mention, I got the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Chargers, honestly, even though they didn't score a lot in the first half, looked like world beaters out there. Melvin Gordon was getting big runs. Austin Eckler, big passes. Hunter Henry was barreling through guys and taking big hits. The offensive line was doing a good job. Defense was doing pretty good, keeping Patrick Mahomes contained until halfway through the second quarter. Tyreek Hill left with an injury, but they still were able to stop Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce for as long as they could. 10-9 going into halftime. You're like, okay, just keep giving it to Gordon, keep giving it to Eckler. You guys are going to be fine. What's the one thing they do? Don't give it to Gordon and Eckler. They start passing more. They're losing to the Chiefs, who have an on-fire offense. But you got to remember, this is one of the worst run defenses in the league. Gordon had a total of 6 carries in the second half. Eckler had 4 touches in the whole second half. He had 3 touches on the 2-minute drive to end the first half. he had 3 catches in a row. And you're not going to give it to him at all in the second half, barely. They tried throwing it to him in the end zone to tie the game up, but Daniel Sorensen made a great bite on the route. Phillip Rivers did throw 4 picks, though. One of them was kind of a strip sack that just fell in to Nadi's hands. But other than that, he just did not look sharp. Chiefs defenders were all over the ball. Tyrann Mathieu had a nice pick. I forget the other DB who had a pick other than Daniel Sorensen, but he bit the ball really nicely going over the shoulder. So, I mean, Chiefs defense, especially the pass defense, looked really good against Phillip Rivers, especially in the second half. They got to clean up. Chargers, that was the game that they needed to get back into the playoffs. That's what they needed right there, and they were not able to get it. Very unfortunate there for the Chargers. Most likely going to miss unless they can get Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler more involved. Gordon less than 20 touches, Eckler less than 20 touches. One of them has to get more than 20 touches a game, and if the other one's getting 20, the other one's got to get 10 or more. That's 30 touches between the best running back duo in the NFL when they're utilized. There's no one stopping those two when you utilize them both. You have a lot of weapons. You got Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I understand that. Throw to them when you need to. But for now, keep it on the ground with those guys. Anthony Lynn is a smart coach. I hope he starts giving them the ball more. Other honorable mention, I got the 49ers beating the Cardinals. Such a shame, but Larry caught a touchdown, so I got to rep him today. 49ers had 12 total yards of offense 23 minutes into the game. That's not good, especially with an offense as good as they are. Cardinals were locking them down. They were up, I believe, 12-0 early. I thought they were going to hold that lead, but they weren't able to. They controlled the ball very well in the first half, barely controlled it in the second half. And the big problem is David Johnson, he hasn't been 100% this year. He's been dealing with injuries, but he only had a total of 9 snaps and did not get the ball once. Kenyon Drake had 16 carries. I don't know how many receptions he's got, but he got 16 carries. Yes, he had a big game a couple of weeks ago against the 49ers, but he can't be your bell cow when you got David Johnson back there who's had 3,000-yard season rushing in 5 seasons. With a bad offensive line every single time he's been out there. What I want to see is David Johnson get the ball more because he gets $10 million guaranteed next year, and Kenyon Drake is a free agent. And you're giving the free agent more and the guy who's $10 million guaranteed less. I think that's just a bad move by the Cardinals. But bettors must be happy with the game because I think it was a 9-point swing for the 49ers, and that fumble at the end of the game as time expired gave them that bump, and they won their bets that they bet on that game. So good job for the bettors. But getting into the surprise of the week, how about the Falcons absolutely crushing the Panthers? Oh, last week was a fluke. Oh, the Saints, Kamara was back from injury. Cook was back from injury. They weren't doing everything they needed to. No, Falcons could be a real deal, and they still have guys hurt. They didn't have Hooper or Freeman and put up more points against arguably a better defense. It makes no sense, but Kyle Allen looked absolutely awful through 4 picks. A lot of them looked forced. None of them were tipped. Falcons defense keeps on with their lockdown streak. They've been doing really well. Matt Ryan is using more and more weapons. He's actually targeting more receivers per game now with those 2 out. He loses 2 targets and hits more receivers. It's crazy to think about. And Younghoe Koo, yes, that's his name, not Young Ho, it's Younghoe Koo, has a boot. He's been nailing field goals like crazy for the Falcons. He did miss one, but other than that, he's made every single one since he's been with the Falcons. Honorable mention, surprise of the week, the Browns beating the Steelers. Steelers looked absolutely lost out there. Honestly, that's probably the worst game of the year besides all that BS going on with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph and all them. But that's the worst game of his career so far for Mason Rudolph. Threw 4 picks, did not look poised, missed a lot of open throws. Couldn't run the ball because they didn't have James Conner back there, but you still have Jalen Samuels and Trey Edmonds. Got to run the ball more. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. That's my motto. But James Conner needs to get back and get healthy real quick if the Steelers want a chance to make a late playoff push. And how about the Pats barely beating the Eagles? Pats offense looked awful. Brady looked awful. Carson Wentz looked awful. The Pats offense needs to get going. Maybe bring AB back. Who knows what happens with that. Get N'Keal Harry more involved. He's your biggest receiver now. Start utilizing him. The Eagles have too many injuries to keep up. They're going to lose in the playoff run. They lost Lane Johnson. Jason Peters is probably going to get injured at some point this season. That's inevitable. So you're going to have two backup tackles in there. Not a good look, especially for Carson Wentz. Run game getting stalled out without Jordan Howard back there. You got Alshon Jeffrey injured, Deshaun Jackson injured. So you have more weapons, but the injuries are too much. They can't get it. And Nelson Aguilar dropping too many passes. I'll give him a break on that one at the end zone because Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, and all those guys are not catching that pass. He's bent backwards on his knees with the ball behind him. You try making that catch, Ryan Burdick. Let me know how you feel about that. But either way, let's get into peakers and leakers. We got 10 minutes. We got to run through this really quick. Honorable mention peaker, I got Sam Darnold. 19 for 30, 293 yards. Tied a career high 4 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, though, but 121.3 QBR en route to a blowout against the Redskins. Great job. Number 3, I got Joe Schobert, defensive guy. First time he's been mentioned on here. 10 tackles, 2 of them were for loss, and he added a sack. 2 big picks, 4 pass deflections, and 2 QB hits. He did it all against the Steelers. Great job keeping them locked down. Number 2, I got Josh Allen, who balled out. Went 21 for 33 against the hapless Dolphins. 256 yards. Threw for 3 touchdowns and 117.7 QBR. 7 for 56 on the ground with another touchdown. He had a great run. Extended for a pylon. Looked really good there. And last but not least, number 1 peaker of the week. This is why we call it peakers. Normally, guys, we don't see. And this is the second week in a row a Raider has made it. Max Crosby, looking like one of the more premier pass rushers in the week. He gets better and better and better each game. He's doing a great job. I think he'll be a real threat when Cleveland Farrell catches up and he starts to ball out. 5 tackles, 4 TFLs, 4 sacks, and 4 QB hits en route to the number 1 peaker this week. And not only that, he was in the backfield every single play. Yes, the Bengals are the worst team in the NFL and have a very bad offensive line, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Mason Crosby made them all look stupid. He came from the left, he came from the right, he came up the middle and beat everyone. That's unbelievable. Great job there. Let's get into the leakers of the week. Honorable mention number 1, I got Dalvin Cook, 11 for 26 on the ground. He did score a touchdown, though, which why he's only an honorable mention, and 5 for 31 through the air. Definitely was not the reason that the Vikings won, but definitely did not have a good game either. Definitely did not look good. Number 3, I got Kyle Allen up here, 31 for 50, 325 yards. Great yardage count, but no touchdowns and 4 picks for a 47.5 QBR. He likes to use his legs. Didn't get a chance to. He was 1 for 7 on the ground. Number 2, Khalil Mack did nothing. He has 0 stats. No tackles, no hits, no hurries, no pass deflections, no nothing. He did absolutely nothing. There were a couple times he was close to the play, but did nothing. You watch the film, he's walking around on half the plays. Looks like Albert Hainsworth from 10 years ago. Just not the same guy that we're normally seeing. He's having a really bad season and just got shut down. And the Rams have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL this year, no matter how McVay makes his game plan. So you got to capitalize when you're one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and he just didn't. Number 1, though, Phillip Rivers. I want to praise him. I want to say a lot went wrong for him. A couple of passes got tipped, but he just did not make any good throws that game, except to Mike Williams at the end. I'll give him that one, but other than that, did not look sharp at all. 28 for 52, 353 yards. He had a touchdown, 4 picks, and a season low 49.6 QBR. Not a good look for Phillip Rivers and what's going on for the rest of the Chargers organization. 7 minutes left. Let's get into some hitters and shitters for week 11. I went 5 for 10. Nick Foles, he hit against the Colts. I said he would, 17.8. He didn't even have the best statistic game, but it helped him out in fantasy. Melvin Gordon, I said he was going to hit against the Chiefs. Even though he didn't score, still got 12 points. He was a big hit. I said N'Keal Harry was going to hit against the Eagles. No, 3 for 18 for a whopping 4.8 points in PPR. He shit the bed. But then I said Darren Waller. He was going to crush the Bengals. He's going to have 2 touchdowns. He didn't have 2 touchdowns, but he did hit with 12.6. And lastly, I had the Steelers crushing the Browns, and they shit the bed. 3 points. Did not look sharp at all against Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, and Kareem Hunt over there in Cleveland. 3 for 2 to start. I got some shitters, though. I said Mitch Trubisky, don't trust it. He did good last week. Not going to do good against Aaron Donald and the Rams. Did not. He shit the bed, got 10 points. He was close, not close enough. But then I said Mark Ingram was going to do nothing on the ground against the Texans. He did absolutely nothing on the ground, but he hit through the air, 23.5 points. He caught 2 touchdowns, both of them 10 yards plus. Nice job, Mark Ingram. I said Chris Godwin was going to shit against the Saints. Towards the end of the game, he did catch a touchdown, though. He got 13.7 points, and that's a hit right there, ladies and gentlemen. I said Kyle Rudolph was going to shit against the Broncos. Looked like it the first half, but he scored a touchdown late, 17.7 points. He was a hit this week. But then I said the Panthers D against the Falcons. Look for Matt Ryan to rally the troops and keep their streak going, and they did, having the Panthers defense playing like shit, 2 points. Great job, Atlanta, helping me out there. Let's get into the hitters and shitters this week, picking right where we left off. Matt Ryan, big hit against the Bucs. Keep it going. Devontae Freeman's probably going to be out. Austin Hooper's probably going to be out, but he's still going to find a way against a very bad pass defense of the Buccaneers. Then I got Devin Singletary against the Broncos. Marlon Mack was churning up yards, no problem. Expect Devin Singletary to do the same. I got Jamison Crowder, who's been on a hot streak, going against the Raiders. Play him this week. He's going to do some great things against their pass defense. You guys are not going to know who this is. Ben Braunecker, I think that's his name, for the Bears. He's been doing well with Trey Burton on IR, and they're playing the Giants, who have a very bad defense. So look for Braunecker to do something big. And then I got the Cowboys defense against the Pats. Pats offense has been looking really bad. Play the Cowboys defense this week. You will not regret it. Shitters for the week, I got Jimmy G beating the Packers, getting beaten by the Packers, That pass defense is elite. He's not going to be able to do much, especially with the sluggish George Kittle. Todd Gurley against the Ravens. He's been picking it up slowly this season, but this is when he's going to hit a wall against that Ravens run defense. Tyler Boyd, another shit against the Steelers. Did awful last week against a bad pass defense. Not going to do good against a good pass defense. Jared Cook against the Panthers. Same deal I'm going to give him here. Looked good last week, not going to look good this week. He's had a very up and down season, more so down. He'll be down again this week. And I got the Titans D not doing the goddamn thing against the Jaguars. Jaguars put up points with Gardner Minshew. Look what they're going to do with Nick Foles. See what happens there. Hopefully the Titans defense will not be able to stop Nick Foles and that electric Jaguars offense with all the weapons they got. Getting to the weekly picks, week 11 was my best week. 12 for 2, putting me in 97, 64, and 1 on the year. Only 2 games I got wrong were the Panthers-Falcons, which who would have thought, and the Chargers-Chiefs. Any man in their right mind would have picked the Chiefs, but I had the Chargers in Mexico City against the worst run defense in the league with the best running back duo when utilized, but they didn't utilize it, so they didn't win. Shocker. Let's get right down to it. Tomorrow night, we got the Texans beating the Colts. Plain and simple. Deshaun Watson, they say he's Michael Jordan. What happens when Michael Jordan loses? He balls out the very next game. Look for him to do that against the Colts, who, yes, have a good defense, but not going to be enough to stop this electric offense of the Houston Texans, even though they didn't look electric against the Ravens. Look for them to bounce back. Falcons are going to go in and beat the Bucs, get their 3rd win in the row. People are going to be like, whoa, are they a playoff team? They're not even completely healthy. On the defensive side, they are, which is why they're playing extremely well. But we'll see what happens when their offense matches. Maybe they could sneak into the playoffs, but it's a very loaded NFC. I would highly doubt if they did. I got the Bills beating the Broncos. Josh Allen continues his hot streak. I got the Bears beating the Giants. No-brainer there. Even coming off the bye week for the Giants, the Bears are going to beat them outright, no problem. I got the Steelers beating the Bengals on the road. Bengals are the favorites to go 0-16. Going to be the 3rd team ever to do that. We'll see what happens. I was hoping it was the Dolphins, but it is the Bengals doing it this year. Browns beating the Dolphins. They continue their hot streak, trying to sneak back into the playoffs in a very lackluster AFC this year. I got the Lions beating the Redskins on the road. Dwayne Haskins not going to get it done there. I got the Raiders beating the Jets. Raiders looking really good lately, especially with how Max Crosby is playing. Even though the Jets have a very good defense this year, I think the Raiders' offense is one of the best in the NFL with a lot of young talent. They're going to keep that going and get the win there in a close match. Look for that to be game of the week. I got the Saints beating the Panthers. Panthers just on a bad streak lately, and if Kyle Allen and Christian McCaffrey don't come to the plate, they're not going to succeed. I got the Seahawks beating the Eagles on the road. Seahawks are just too good. Russell Wilson coming off the bye week, going to torch that bad Eagles secondary, even though they looked really good last week. I got the Titans beating the Jags, even though their defense is not going to come and perform well. Ryan Tannehill is going to torch that defense all day long. I got the Pats beating the Cowboys. No-brainer there. That's going to be an awesome game to watch at the 4:30 slot. 49ers beat the Packers on Sunday Night Football. That's going to be a really good game to watch. Likely one of the best of the year, but I think they get it done against the Packers. Even with Jimmy G getting stifled by them, they're going to get it done on the ground, if anything else. And that defense is going to stop Aaron Rodgers at all costs. And last but not least, Monday Night Football, we got the Ravens beating the Rams on the road. Nothing is stopping Lamar Jackson. He is the MVP favorite right now. I'm not going to give it to him yet, but depending on how he plays this week, he might steal that spot from Russell Wilson. We'll see what happens. But that is 7 o'clock. That is half an hour, and that is Washed Up Wednesdays for this week. Moving on to episode 14 next week. Looking to have Eric and my brother Zach on the show next week. That'll be pretty cool, having two special guests. That one might be a little bit longer because of that, but we'll make it work. We'll see what happens. But either way, episode 13 is a wrap. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Lauby. Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen. Please drive home safe. I don't know if you're listening to this on the road or not. Doubt it. But definitely stay tuned. Tune in next week. Washed Up Wednesdays is a wrap. Have a great night, ladies and gentlemen.